known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome, everybody, to Prop It Up. I'm Andy Lang at WagerTalk.com. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Andrew McInnis, also on WagerTalk.com, and Matt Josephs on SportsMemo.com. We had a little bit of a break, but we are back off the All-Star break. Baseball's back in full summer gear. Andrew's going to bring some CFL action and info to us, and got to be starting that NFL research. If you want to get in on full season props, futures, and just to get your head right for what's coming up in the NFL season, research has to be started. I'll go over some of the things that I have found. Let's go to Matt Josephs. Matt, you put the $2 and $2 Tuesday today, but talk to us about some of the K props and college football research you've been doing. I know you've been on a nice little run on K props.
Yeah, 1971 on the K-Props run. And it's basically just trying to find a groove in terms of the teams that don't strike out and the guys that are good enough at striking people out. I've talked about it week after week on this show that I don't get as much involved in the top end of the market because I think the books, what they do is they take these guys who strike out a lot of people, they raise the number because they know everybody's going to blindly bet on it. Case in point, last night, Shohei Ohtani at home against the Rockies, the number was 6.5. I'm sure a lot of people jumped all over that, but the Rockies don't strike as much out as they did on the road. And Ohtani's K-prop numbers are wildly all over the place. He'll have stretches where he'll have 3, 4, and 5 strikeouts. He'll have 8, 9, and 10 strikeouts. And of course, I think he finished with 3 last night. So a lot of people who are the public with regards to Ohtani were wrong on that one. It's just, to me, it's finding the guys that are in the 3.5, 4.5, 5.5 number. I'll tell you this, the Toronto Blue Jays don't strike out as much as anybody else right now. I've been making a living betting the unders. Last night, I had the under on Nick Pivetta. It was 5.5. Pretty sure he finished with 3 because the Blue Jays just don't strike out. The key is to find a nice setting and a nice range and to play off that. So I've been using K rates since the All-Star break. The Tigers, not striking out as much as they were before since the All-Star break. So you got to kind of find out who's doing it a lot, who's not doing it, and trying to find those values in the middle of the market instead of the top end of the market.
Yeah, somebody that had action in that game, I was watching closely, and you're right. They don't strike out. They do like to swing at horrible pitches to pop out short to the infield. But as far
as a fan, I don't like that either. I mean, not striking out is one thing, but as a fan watching, I don't like that
They
either.
also don't walk as much as they should, or could, because of the absolute swinging away. So, yeah, great job on K props. I'm finding the same level of success. I'm looking for the numbers at 4.5 and 5.5. Once you get over that total, it's just hard to pick an over to go that high, at this point in the season. So great stuff on K props as always. College football. You've done more research probably than anybody else in this market. So talk to us about what you're expecting with college football, and I don't know, maybe some interesting things that you've discovered or some little trends that you might notice that we should keep our eye on.
So for those who are not familiar, I've been writing articles for Athlon Sports, doing the win total opinions for every team in the FBS. The Big 12 was up. The Big 10 is up. The ACC was going to be up early this week, but of course the realignment news came out, and now I'm working on the SEC. And spoiler alert, the markets are very good when it comes to the SEC. A lot of the numbers that they put out are the numbers that I'm finding. Now, I'll admit the SEC is not my strongest conference because I don't put as much research as I do in like Conference USA and the Sun Belt and the AAC and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see this year. There are some very good sandwich games. One of them I'll talk about with my best bet of a win total, that a team that has a perfect sandwich spot situation. Another one, the Pitt Panthers. You can put this one down in your book. In early November, Pitt is traveling to Duke. Duke is going to be one of the worst teams in the ACC Coastal. Pittsburgh is probably going to be in the middle towards the top of the ACC Coastal. Well, Pittsburgh is playing Clemson and Miami at home before. Then they play at Duke, and then they've got Miami at home. So they've got 3 of their toughest games at home in between this lone road game at Duke. So it's just kind of looking out for these sandwich situations, circling it on the schedule and looking out for it now. There's not a line out on that game, but when that situation comes up in November, you'll at least know, ooh, this is a master sandwich when it comes to college football.
Such a great look ahead, and I think it's one of the more overlooked pieces of information that people just don't take into consideration. You log in, you look at the line, and you say, "Oh, the line's 3 or 3.5," and you don't look at what's coming up, what has happened before. So, great stuff, Matt. Andrew, speaking of research, you have already started CFL. That's coming up, and this is an interesting sport because a lot of us, me in particular, don't really know that much about CFL. I don't follow it, but sure enough, here it is. You log into your sports book, log into football, and there's CFL. So I guess just a little overview about CFL and what your experience has been with that.
Yeah, well, Andy, I'm really excited. I'm releasing a little bit of a series of videos coming up soon on WagerTalk TV about the differences in the rules for American football versus Canadian football, a little bit about each team and stuff like that. But I guess, there's 9 teams, so obviously 8 teams in action each week. And I guess one thing I'll say about the CFL versus many other leagues, and looking at the NFL in particular, is, it takes a little bit longer, I guess, to kind of understand each team's identity. And also, like what Matt was saying about scheduling, it's very typical in every sport, but very in particular with the CFL. Watch out for those, bet on spots with the team, nearing the end of the road trip, or, they just came off a really, really exciting win and kind of let down spots and stuff like that. But travel spots, of course, West Coast, East Coast. But one thing about the CFL, Andy, which is to me what makes it the most exciting to handicap, and some might disagree with me, because if you're a fan, you don't want all this, one player 1 year on your team and next year he's somewhere else. But the turnover of the rosters makes it super exciting. Like every year, there's going to be a QB swap. There's going to be, all-star wide receivers on different teams. There's going to be, a great pass rusher that just switches teams. And the contracts are a lot shorter term in the CFL. And that's what, to me, makes it super exciting handicapping it and reading all these blogs. One great website I use is 3downnation.ca. They're great. They do a lot of blogs with all kinds of different teams. And I feel like there's all kinds of teams and spots, and I've done a lot of schedule research already where the market's going to just undervalue these teams completely. But some of these teams that have recruited and gotten some really great players from other teams, people are going to think they're going to be really good instantly. And I'm a big believer, especially in the CFL, you could pick a great receiver or a great cornerback, but it's going to take some time for those teams to show some value. But I'm super excited for it, and I have a future I'm going to discuss on the show today.
Nice. And I know you've been doing some props with baseball. So what have you been finding coming out of the All-Star break in the MLB?
Well, I'll keep it short and simple. I just think that, we can all use these, the pitchers versus batters, different websites. Daily Baseball Data is a great website to use. And just kind of looking at these stats as an overlay. I mean, as I always say, I think it takes a little bit of time to see a team's identity or certain players' identity. But I just really am a big believer in hockey or even basketball, but especially sports with like goalies or pitchers versus batters. Some players are just playing better against certain pitchers. It's just a fact. But now we are so far along into the season that you're not guessing anymore, and you're not hoping that these quote for quote trends continue. It's a matter of fact that this guy performs at a higher level against pitcher. And Matt does a great job of always stuff like that, doing videos with that. And I guess I've kind of just hopped on that, especially over the past couple of weeks here, just checking out to see, which guys in particular are doing well against pitchers, and then looking at their total base props, or for this person to get a hit or even a home run. And I think I saw you doing those as well, Andy. I could be wrong on some of the props like that, but that's what I've been looking for. I mean, we're far along now in the season. It's been long enough to be able to tell when this guy is going up against this pitcher tonight or this night or that night, he's going to play better than he might have some other nights against certain guys. And that's kind of what I've been noticing. And you can get some plus money on some guys over, 1.5 bases or 2.5 bases. And especially if you have a huge favorite and you can take a look at the prop market and find a way better price, that's where I've been looking.
Great stuff from Andrew McInnis at WagerTalk.com and Matt Josephs at SportsMemo.com. I'll go over some of the things I've been researching in NFL, and I'll start with just kind of how I attack some of these future totals and season-long totals. I don't know where the line is, but I just won't be taking any overs on these big numbers for season yards, receiving, rushing, touchdowns, just because of the injury factor. They miss a couple games and it's almost impossible to go over these numbers. But there are some middle of the tier numbers that I really like to go over, because if they miss time, they can survive a couple weeks off. And if the person in front of them, the running back in front of them, gets hurt, then all of a sudden they're in line for a couple of big games. And I'll give a little example here real quick. So Alvin Kamara, right now, his rushing and receiving yard total is over 1,500 yards. He's an amazing player, but so much has to go right for this prop to hit. Drew Brees is not there anymore. I don't think we know concrete who is going to be the quarterback every single down. Michael Thomas is now out, so there's just a lot of questions. And if Alvin Kamara gets banged up at all, this prop is going to go over. So this is a number that I just can't ever see taking over. But if I look at a running back like Jamal Williams, his number is 750 yards, rushing and receiving combined. He's on a bad team, but he's going to catch a lot of passes. And if the running back in front of him gets hurt and misses any time, Jamal Williams is going to have a really big workload. And I think some of these backfields are much more splits than people think. I know my biggest play preseason last season was Kareem Hunt, and they had his rushing receiving total over 600 yards. And he flew over that total because the Cleveland backfield is much more of a split, and the number was low. So when you're going into these season totals for players, once you get to these really, really big numbers, unders are the only ways to go. And if I want to play an over, it's going to be on a middle of the road guy where the number is going to be around that between 600 and maybe 800, even 900 yards. So, all right, let's give some best bets.
I have a question for you, Andy, if I can follow up.
Yeah,
sure. I have a question for you. I've heard many people saying something very similar to you, that they actually prefer to look at with these early, prop stats or prop wagers for NFL. They mainly look towards the under, because just like you said, there's a lot that has to go right for them to get that. Would you agree with that? Would you more so say that you look towards unders with these plays before the season starts and stuff like that? Or do you have any overs you've looked at as well?
So last season I had, I believe it was 10 preseason plays, and 8 of them were unders. And that's that. Right. It's going to look the same. If you're looking at quarterbacks, there was a play a couple seasons ago where I had Ben Roethlisberger under his throwing total. Well, it cashed in week 3 because he got hurt and was done. So yeah. So I mean, just look at some of these guys. I live in Indianapolis. I follow the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, his number's 1,500 rushing and receiving. They're getting Marlon Mack back after an Achilles injury, and Nyheim Hines is still there. There's no way I'm taking it over on something like that. Josh Jacobs, they bring in Kenyon Drake. Josh Jacobs, his rushing and receiving is 1,250. Well, he doesn't catch the ball a whole lot to begin with. So there's no way I'm looking at playing an over. And if you play these guys under and they get dinged up, hopefully they, we're not rooting for any injuries, but it's just a fact, especially at the running back position. Someone like Jonathan Taylor with this number at 1,500, if he sprains an ankle and misses 4 games, this under is just an easy cash. Look at Christian McCaffrey last year. How'd you like to be the guy that took his over, before the season started? So if you think you can get a guy who's going to go under for the entire season, if he plays the entire season, you always have that wild card of the injury factor, and especially at the running back position. It's going to be really, really hard to justify playing an over at the running back position over 1,000 yards. And it's worked out well. I hit 68% of my season win totals and props last year. So it's been tried and true.
Good stuff.
All right, let's do some best bets. Let's give some people some concrete things they can bet on. Matt, I'm going to go to you first. Give us a best bet, and Matt can be found on sportsmemo.com, and he has a $2 play on $2 Tuesday, so make sure you go get that. It's a great play. I know what it is. I gave him my $2, and I'm hoping to cash in. But besides the $2 Tuesday play, Matt, what do you got for us?
The other thing that we're really trying to promote is you get the first month of college football and NFL in that span for free. You get the first month of the NFL college football for $149, and you get any NFL props and anything over that span for free as like a side thing, because I did so well in college football last year. So if you want to give it a try, I do a lot of like team totals in first quarter, first half plays. We kind of try and find some angles and that sort of thing. That's up on sportsmemo.com. So my best bet for today is the over 4.5 wins for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And this is a team that I absolutely love this year. They're going to bring in a quarterback, Tyler Shaw, the quarterback from Oregon. He's probably going to be their starter. Sonny Cumbie is the offensive coordinator now, and they're hoping to bring back the air raid style that Texas Tech used to run with Cliff Kingsbury and when Michael Crabtree was there and all those guys. And I think the schedule is conducive for them to get a bunch of wins. The team has a bunch of Power 5 transfers on defense. It's going to take them a little time to gel, but I think that this offense is going to get back to the ways that they used to when they're scoring 30 and 40 points, and I think the defense is going to be really good. And when you look at their schedule real quick, they've got Houston to open things up, and that's not a guaranteed loss. I mean, Houston's a good team, but Texas Tech could certainly beat them. Then they get layups against Stephen F. Austin and Florida International. They do travel to Texas. They do travel to West Virginia and Oklahoma, so they'll probably end up losing those games, but you get the free space against Kansas, so that's 3 wins. They get TCU at home and Kansas State at home. Sorry, Kelly, the Kansas State game, I think Texas Tech's going to win. And here's the other best sandwich. On November 13th, they get Iowa State at home. We all talk about Iowa State, how good Iowa State's going to be. Texas Tech's coming off a bye week. Iowa State is playing at Oklahoma the week after this game. They're playing against Texas at home the week before. So you have Texas and Oklahoma in between this lowly game in Lubbock, Texas, which could be a night game. We know how good Lubbock is at night. I think Texas Tech could get Iowa State in that game on November 13th. I just think 4.5 is an easy thing here. I see 5, 6, or 7 wins for this Texas Tech Red Raiders team. Make sure to shop around because there's some 4.5s, there's some 5s. The juices are different. So make sure to find the best book and the best price. But I think Texas Tech over 4.5 wins for this coming season. I'm going to be a huge Red Raiders fan in 2021.
Nice, great stuff. Wow, so they play Oklahoma and Texas, and then they get that game right in the middle, huh? That's an interesting SEC. The SEC sandwich. Very rarely seen in the Big 12. So, Andrew, you had a CFL future you wanted to talk about a little bit, and then you also got a best bet for us as well.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet with the CFL future. I'll definitely have some more videos about it and stuff like that. But look, I think, like I mentioned, there's a lot of changes that happen in the CFL every single offseason. Last year, we didn't even have a season. A lot of head coaching changes as well. So looking at the Edmonton Elks at 10-1 to win the Grey Cup. They went to their conference finals last year. They've had lots of chances over the past several years. Haven't been able to get over that hump, guys. They've always been a contending team. And to me, just from a strict value standpoint, that number is too good to be true. But then you look at their new head coach, who was a former offensive coordinator with both Trevor Harris and Greg Ellingson. Those two players are the starting quarterback and one of the top wide receivers for Edmonton. They used to play in Ottawa with the new head coach. So I think that when you look at a situation like that, early in the season especially, you want team chemistry to be there. You want the chemistry between coaching staff and the players to be there. And I feel like with the history those guys have with the coach, they're going to get a really good early start to the season. And it won't take it too long of a time to get the playbook connections and all that kind of stuff underway. So at 10-1 to make the Grey Cup or get the Grey Cup and then create some hedging opportunities for us, I think it's a great wager looking at the Edmonton Elks, newly named, by the way, as well.
Nice. The Elks. Yeah, definitely a Canadian football team.
Are they in the
SEC? Good stuff, Andrew. For my best bet, I'm going to go for a season win total. I'm going to take the Houston Texans under 4.5 wins. This is just under 4 wins. This is a team that doesn't know what they're going to do at starting quarterback. They're talking about trading Deshaun Watson, and even if he plays, I'm not sure that they have the pieces there. It's a poorly run team. They are run basically by what used to be their team chaplain. And when you look at their schedule is not very easy. They start off with Jacksonville. That could be a win. And then they get Cleveland, and then they get Carolina, possibly a win, but I'm not sure if they're going to be favored in those two games. And then the season just really kicks off for them. Buffalo, New England, the Colts, Cardinals, Rams, Dolphins, Titans. The Jets do come to town, but then right after the Jets, they get the Colts, the Seahawks, the Jaguars, the Chargers, the 49ers, and the Titans. It's a bad team. If Deshaun Watson is out of there, they're left with Tyrod Taylor, and wide receiving core is always hurt. Their offensive line is only ranked 20th by Pro Football Focus. So I think 4 wins is going to be it's going to be a stretch for them. This is a really bad team, and I think they're the worst in the division. And be honest, I don't think it's close. So. All right, guys, I think that's it. Great stuff for everybody. Hopefully we gave some actionable infotainment, as they call it here. So don't forget to go get Matt Joseph's play, $2 Tuesday. He is on sportsmemo.com. That is Andrew McInnis on WagerTalk.com, and I am Andy Lang on WagerTalk.com. My Olympic golf package is up right now. We're over 100 units for the 2021 season, so don't forget to check that out. Good luck. Let's get ready for NFL and college football season for all these props, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Prop It Up.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.